The man with the knife charged forward, and I saw the flicker of expectation in Clara's eyes. She probably thought I would do what I did in my past life. Throw myself in front of her to take the hit. She held her sweetheart, Ethan, calmly in her arms, whispering words of comfort, as if I wasn't even there. She didn't flinch until the cold steel of the blade pushed deep into her chest, sending a shockwave of pain through her body. Only then did Clara look up at me from where she lay on the dirty floor, her expression a mask of pure disbelief. I stood there, completely still, meeting her gaze with a cold, empty stare. A small smirk played on my lips. Does it hurt? I thought. Probably. But compared to the agony I endured in my past life, this was nothing. Clara, we have all the time in the world to settle our accounts. I found myself reliving that horrible day, the day my famous actress wife, Clara, let her first love, Ethan, move into our home. In my previous life, that was the beginning of my end. I had come home from a long day at work to find Ethan, the uninvited guest, standing in my living room. He was holding Clara, his voice choked with emotion. "Clara, I had no choice back then," he pleaded. "If I hadn't left you, my dad would have cut off my mom's medicine payments. I had to do it for her. Not a single day went by in those 5 years when I didn't think of you." Clara gently wiped away Ethan's tears, looking at him with a tenderness and focus she had never once shown me. The sight of it cracked something deep inside my soul. Finally, they noticed me standing at the door, my own eyes red as I watched them pour their hearts out to each other. In a panic, Clara tried to explain. She told me Ethan was a childhood friend whose parents had helped her family tremendously. She said he had fallen on hard times, losing his job and suffering from poor health. Out of a sense of obligation for their old friendship, she felt she had to help him. Clara wasn't asking for my permission. She was telling me how things would be. Ethan needed rest, she declared, and she gave up our sun-soaked main bedroom for him. From that day on, she doted on him, cooking him nutritious meals with her own hands and risking being photographed by the paparazzi by personally accompanying him to his hospital checkups. After photos of them at the hospital inevitably surfaced, Clara publicly announced that Ethan was her lover, all to protect his reputation. And just like that, Ethan became her lover. So what did that make me? Her husband, only on paper. With a few simple words, Clara easily distanced herself from me, telling others we were just friends who worked together. To me, privately, she spun a web of lies, promising that I was the only one she truly loved, and that she was just helping Ethan out of pity. She swore that once Ethan recovered, she would stop caring for him. But Ethan was far from the innocent victim he pretended to be. He would deliberately gloat about his relationship with Clara right in front of me, then scheme against me behind her back. After he successfully framed me for an incident that nearly ruined Clara's career, she blamed me entirely. Siding with Ethan, she decided I needed to be out of the way to keep him happy. Against all my protests, she shipped me off to live in a distant, remote town. In my past life, I saw Clara as my entire world. Terrified of divorce and abandonment, I left, foolishly hoping she would eventually come for me. I waited and waited. Even after I saved her from a kidnapping that left me permanently disabled, spending the rest of my miserable life in a hospital bed, she never once publicly acknowledged our marriage. She would visit sometimes, sneaking in at first, but eventually she made excuses about being too busy and stopped coming altogether. I was so deluded back then, clinging to the fantasy that Clara had a good reason for everything she did, that deep down, she still cared for me. That foolish love kept me holding on. I always believed I would somehow heal and find my place beside her again. That was until I saw Clara and Ethan on television, attending a glamorous event with their young child. My hope died completely when Ethan himself came to visit me, standing over my hospital bed and looking down at me with utter disdain. "Leo, why aren't you dead yet?" he sneered. "5 years of living like this, isn't it enough? Don't you know Clara wants you gone? The only way you could make us happy is by dying." He confessed everything. He claimed he and Clara were always meant to be together, and that he only left her because she had nothing back then. He never imagined she would become a renowned actress, nor that the wealthy heiress he chose over her would go bankrupt. He had come back specifically to win her heart again. Ethan admitted he had orchestrated the rumors that damaged my reputation and manipulated Clara into losing all hope in me. Even the kidnapping that paralyzed me was his doing. He only wanted to frame me for something. He never imagined I would be foolish enough to risk my life for Clara. He shamelessly recounted the intimate moments he and Clara shared while I was still able-bodied but pushed aside. He described how they would kiss passionately, how Clara would cradle him and whisper sweetly, "Ethan, you're the one I've loved for all these years. You've always been on my mind. But Leo has done so much for me, I can't just abandon him now. Wait a little longer. Leo won't live much longer, and then we can marry openly." The sheer cruelty of her words finally extinguished the last spark of life within me. And just when I thought it was all over, I woke up. I was in a hospital examination room, fully intact. I touched my own face, feeling the smooth, healthy skin, reassuring myself that it wasn't a dream. Everything could start anew. This time, I would live only for myself. After gathering my thoughts, I returned to the examination room and asked the doctor for a very specific favor. Half an hour later, I was lying in a hospital bed with an IV in my arm when my phone began to ring. It was Clara. Wasn't she busy comforting Ethan? Why was she calling me? I let it ring, ignoring it completely. A few minutes later, a text message arrived. "Where are you? Come back quickly. I have something important to tell you." Something important, no doubt, about Ethan. I had no interest in hearing her lies all over again. I put my phone on silent and stayed in the hospital for 5 long hours. It was 11 p.m. when I finally left. The hospital was eerily quiet at night. As I walked, I checked my phone. In the few hours it had been on silent, Clara had called me 80 times and sent nearly 50 messages. We had dated for 5 years and been married for 3. I had always replied to her instantly, never leaving her hanging like this. The sudden change in my behavior must have made her incredibly anxious. I walked slowly out of the hospital building and across the dimly lit parking lot. I heard a car door open, followed by the sound of quick footsteps. Someone grabbed my arm forcefully. A stern voice said, "Leo, why didn't you answer my calls or messages? Do you have any idea how worried I was?" I turned to see Clara, hidden behind a mask and a hat. The memory of the pain and despair I felt before my death in my past life made me want to rip them off and slap her face until it was swollen and unrecognizable. But I held back. It wasn't the right time. I had bigger plans. Pretending to trip, I skillfully hooked my foot around her leg. She was so focused on questioning me that she didn't see it coming and tumbled forward. I quickly pulled my foot back as she face-planted hard on the asphalt. While she was down, I followed suit, pretending to fall as well. Her cries of pain were sharp. I scrambled to my feet, acting utterly worried, and pulled off her mask and sunglasses. "Are you okay? It's all my fault. I'm sick, and the doctor made me stay for a detailed checkup and treatment. I didn't mean to ignore your calls and messages. My phone died." As I babbled apologies, I reached down to help her up, intentionally stepping on her outstretched hand a few times. Her face turned a shade of purple from the pain. "Leo, what the hell are you doing?" she yelled. "Hurry and help me put my glasses and mask back on. Do you want the paparazzi to see this?" I helped her up and into the car. As we drove off, she kept complaining, but I just kept apologizing, my eyes glued to the rearview mirror. In the faint light, I saw a figure stoop down and pick up the medical report I had purposefully left on the road. A feeling of relief washed over me. When we got home, Ethan came out to greet us. "Clara, you're finally back." I watched the scene with cold detachment. "Who is he? Why is he here?" I asked, my voice flat. As soon as I spoke, Clara quickly pulled away from Ethan. "Leo, this is my neighbor's little brother, Ethan." Then, turning to him, she said, "This is Leo, my husband." Ethan looked unhappy about being pushed away, fixing a sharp gaze on me. "When did you get married, Clara? How come I didn't know?" "We've been married for 3 years," Clara said, trying to appease me. "We haven't announced it for personal reasons. Ethan doesn't have a place to go right now, so he needs to stay with us temporarily. I'll need you to help look after him." She had said the exact same words in our previous life, and I had agreed without a second thought. This time I refused. "I'm not well. The doctor says I need to rest, so I can't take care of someone I don't know." Clara did not take my refusal well, and Ethan immediately teared up. "I knew I'd be a bother. I shouldn't have come here, Clara. I'm leaving now." He pretended to leave, but after only a couple of steps, he fell softly to the ground. Clara panicked and rushed to his side, calling for a driver to take them to the hospital. This was Ethan's usual trick. In our past life, I thought he was genuinely sick and was always so careful around him. Now, knowing he was faking it, I felt no sympathy. If he wanted to pretend to pass out, I would show him what that really meant. I stomped on his hand, hard. I watched his expression twist in agony. But despite the intense pain, he stayed in character, pretending to be unconscious. I let go of his hand, and then pinched the area between his nose and upper lip until it bruised, yet he still maintained his act. Clara was genuinely worried, yelling at me, "Why do you keep pinching him? Call 911? I released Ethan and pretended to take out my phone. My eyes caught the glint of a fruit knife on a nearby table, and a plan began to form in my head. I pretended to slip backward, kicking my leg out as I fell. My foot connected squarely with Clara's face. She screamed, clutching her nose as blood gushed out. Moving swiftly in the chaos, I grabbed the knife and with a single, decisive motion, chopped off one of Ethan's fingers. Blood splattered everywhere. Ethan screamed and shot awake. I fell heavily to the floor, clutching my stomach. "Ow! I'm in so much pain!" I yelled, my face pale. "What's happening to me?" All 3 of us were rushed to the hospital. Clara's nose was broken, and Ethan had lost a finger. While I was recovering, Clara never visited me once. Her assistant came instead, informing me that Clara needed surgery to fix her nose and couldn't see anyone. The assistant also told me that Ethan's finger was severed and had never been found. The news made me genuinely happy. It was just a small punishment. The real show was yet to come. I stayed in the hospital for half a month. Every day I called and messaged Clara, complaining about my pain and sorrow. On the day I was discharged, she came to pick me up, completely covered in a mask and sunglasses. Once I was in the car, I started my act. "Clara, this is all my fault." She hugged me to comfort me. "Leo, everything will be okay." I laughed coldly on the inside, but pretended to cry a little before asking about her nose. Her plastic surgery had gone perfectly. You couldn't even tell anything had happened. When we got home, Ethan came downstairs. His eyes were filled with hatred as he looked at me. I glanced at his hand with the missing finger and felt a secret satisfaction. But I kept a remorseful expression on my face and apologized profusely. Then, I clutched my body, pretending to be in pain, and Clara helped me back to our bedroom to rest. It wasn't long before Ethan came in with a glass of milk. He closed the door and walked over to my bed, his voice dripping with venom. "Leo, did you do it on purpose? Did you intentionally cut off my finger? And you're back too, right?" His words shocked me, and I quickly denied it. "What are you talking about? What's back?" "Stop pretending. You weren't like this last time around. You were nice to me then. But this time you don't like me. I can see it. So you did it on purpose, didn't you?" "How could I ever intentionally cut your finger?" I said, feigning hurt. "You're accusing me wrongly. It was just an accident. I was so worried when you fainted that I accidentally fell, causing the loss of my unborn child and injuring both you and Clara. I'm the one to blame. Will you forgive me? I didn't mean for any of it to happen." Ethan looked at me hatefully, trying to find any sign of deceit in my face, but he left disappointed. Finding out that he had been reborn as well was a surprise. It meant I needed to be extra careful. However, his return could also help my plans. His target was Clara, and he already knew the path to getting rid of me. He would surely go to extreme lengths, which would give me opportunities to counter him. Later that night, when Clara came into the bedroom, I told her, "Clara, isn't Ethan's condition pretty serious? Does he have some kind of persecution complex? He said such bizarre things to me today." Clara looked puzzled. "What did he say?" "He said I hated him and that I intentionally severed his finger. I swear it wasn't on purpose. I barely know him. Why would I hate him?" "Ethan has been a bit extreme," she admitted. "He has depression, and sometimes his mind runs wild. Before you came back, he even told me that you were out to get him. I tried to talk him out of it, but it seems he still thinks that way." "What should we do then?" I asked, feigning concern. "Will he keep thinking I'm against him? Will he make trouble for me? Clara, you know how much I love you. I can't lose you." Clara knew how much I loved her. I had stayed behind the scenes for her entire career, fighting for roles for her when she was unknown, even getting stomach bleeding from drinking with producers. After she became a success, I never asked for anything and stayed in the background, swallowing my pride when she wanted our marriage kept private, while she fabricated gossip with other actors. Thinking of all I had done for her, she looked at me with a flicker of sympathy. "Leo, I will take care of you and help you get better." I acted touched and hugged her. "I'll do whatever you say, but I'm worried." "Worried about what?" "About Ethan. He might be really sick. He told me you like him and can't live without him." Clara's expression changed. "What else did he say to you?" Pretending not to notice her reaction, I sighed. "He said I'm the other man and that you two are the real couple. He said you're madly in love with him." I sighed again. "Ethan might really be losing it. I worry he might suddenly go off the rails. If he says anything unexpected, your career could be at risk. You've signed so many contracts, it could be messy to explain." Clara had always presented herself as single to the public, which had landed her many lucrative endorsements. She wouldn't want to risk losing millions over a contract breach. Compared to her future and her money, Ethan wasn't that important. She took my advice. "I understand what you're saying. Having Ethan in our home isn't a good idea. I'll have my assistant find him a place to move to." Because of my warning, Clara had a serious talk with Ethan the next morning. I tiptoed to the study door and could clearly hear his probing voice from inside. "I won't leave. You promised me. If I go out now, it's like walking into a death trap." "Ethan, just listen to me." "I won't move, Clara. Did Leo manipulate you into this? Is he the one who can't stand me, making you drive me away? I'm telling you, I've lived through this once before. I'm not lying. I'm certain Leo is back, just like me." "If what you're saying is true, and Leo is back like you, why hasn't he retaliated after everything we did to him in the past?" "He already has. Your broken nose and my missing finger are his revenge." "No way," Clara whispered. "All of this was just an accident. If Leo wanted revenge, he would do more than just cause a minor inconvenience. He could ruin me by exposing all my secrets, but he hasn't. I've watched him closely. He's in pain. He feels guilty and weak. This is all because of you. If you hadn't caused trouble, my relationship with Leo wouldn't be in this state. It's all your fault. You better reflect on it. Or don't blame me for what happens next." I let out a slight smirk and turned away quietly. Since they had already pushed past the pretense, it would make things much easier for me. Clara spent 2 hours talking to Ethan in the study. He was upset the whole time, and in the end, she left with the excuse of going to a film shoot. Only Ethan and I were left at the house. He looked at me fiercely. "Clara wants me to leave. You must be satisfied now, right?" "I don't know what you're talking about," I said calmly. "Clara asked you to leave for her career. Besides, isn't it awkward for a single, ill man to stay at someone else's place? Clara is like your sister, not your partner. She has no obligation to take care of you." Furious, Alex lunged at me. "I was faking being sick. I intended to steal Clara away, and today I'm going to frame you for attacking me." As he cursed, I jumped up and dialed Clara's number on my phone, putting it on speaker as I dodged him. Unaware, Ethan hurled insults and chased after me. I ran upstairs and he followed. On the second floor, he cornered me, lunging. "Die! You should die today!" Watching him come for me, I cried out dramatically into the phone for help. "Clara, save me! Ethan has lost it! He's gone mad! He wants to kill me!" After yelling, I tossed the phone aside, letting it roll far away. With a cold smile, I faced the man who was attacking me. Clara rushed back after getting my frantic call. She pushed open the villa door and was shocked by the horrific scene. Ethan and I lay on the ground floor, both covered in blood. We were rushed back to the hospital. I had fallen from the second-floor landing and ended up with a broken arm. Ethan fared much worse. He had fallen awkwardly onto a large decorative vase below. Glass shards had pierced through his lower body, leaving a gruesome mess. No one knew I had done it deliberately. I had let Ethan hurl insults at me over the phone, ensuring Clara heard every word. The villa's cameras had been mysteriously down for maintenance. The only proof was my call to Clara, claiming Ethan had gone crazy. As he charged at me, I pretended to panic, ditched my phone, and then wrapped myself around him, dragging us both off the second-floor landing. He was my cushion, and he passed out immediately from the impact. After he was unconscious, I viciously attacked his prone body with a nearby baseball bat. I watched the blood pool beneath him, then smashed the vase and filled his wounds with glass shards. Satisfied with my work, I smeared myself with his blood, snapped my own arm, and laid down next to him, feigning unconsciousness. When I woke up, news about the incident at Clara's villa was everywhere. At the peak of her fame, such news was explosive. Social media blew up as everyone investigated what had happened. 2 injured men were big news. I was already known as part of Clara's team, but Ethan was a mystery. People quickly dug into his past as Clara's first love, exposing their high school romance. The scandal unfolded 3 months earlier than it had in my past life. Back then, Ethan had faked a serious illness to get Clara's attention and orchestrated a hospital photo op to manipulate her. This life, the tactics were different, but the outcome was similar. Clara never foresaw this fallout. But just like last time, after 3 days of non-stop trending topics, her agency released a statement. She admitted her connection to Ethan, calling him her first love, the one person she could never forget. They claimed that after reuniting, they had gotten back together and had planned to announce it later, but were forced to admit it early. After confirming Ethan's status, Clara called me. She gave me the same excuses as before: her gratitude toward his family, his fragile mental and physical state. She insisted she had to soothe him for now, certain that my devotion to her meant I wouldn't cause any issues. I agreed to everything. "Clara, I'll do as you wish. Take care of Ethan. Even though he tried to harm me, I know he's unwell and not in control, so I forgive him." Thrilled by my cooperation, she reassured me before hanging up. Clara's single image was shattered, but her agency invested heavily in PR, promoting her and Ethan's love story. They were painted as tragic lovers, separated by cruel circumstances, who had never stopped thinking of each other. Their seemingly fairy tale romance captivated many, turning them into the nation's adored couple of tragic love. Her career wasn't affected. In fact, she was even more in the spotlight, landing new endorsements and movie deals. Naturally, this boosted Ethan's profile, and just like in our previous life, he went from a nobody to a celebrity, set to act as her on-screen partner. Then, just as their romance movie was announced, footage of Clara picking me up from the hospital that night suddenly leaked. In the video, paparazzi ambushed her, asking if Ethan was really her boyfriend. If their love was so deep and unforgettable, then what did that make me? The footage showed us struggling, and to make matters worse, the paparazzi also leaked my faked medical records. The headline about a popular actress abandoning her sick husband for a past lover was a ticking time bomb. Clara was terrified. She knew how disastrous it would be if the full story went public. She reached out to the paparazzi, who demanded $1 billion to keep quiet. She had made a lot of money, but giving up that much was a bitter pill to swallow. She spent days stressed and unable to eat or sleep. What pushed her over the edge was the leak of our marriage certificate. When she saw it online, she was stunned. Then she started to doubt me. She confronted me, scrutinizing my face before finally taking my hand. "Leo, we kept our marriage a complete secret. How did the paparazzi get this photo?" Inwardly, I scoffed, but I showed only panic. "How could that be possible? We've never told a soul. It wasn't me." If it wasn't me, it must have been her. I denied it frantically. "It wasn't me, Clara. I have no reason to blow up our relationship." "Are you jealous, Leo?" she asked, her eyes narrowing. "Jealous of me and Ethan?" "Yes," I admitted. "I'm jealous of you and Ethan, but I love you too much to ever ruin you like that." She seemed to believe me, at least partially. "If it wasn't you, then who was it?" "I don't know, I really don't know," I said, ruffling my hair in frustration. Could the paparazzi have used some trick to get it from the courthouse after they filmed us at the hospital? That explanation seemed plausible enough for her, and she fell silent. "Clara, it's my fault," I continued, taking the blame to erase any lingering suspicion. "If my phone hadn't died that night and you hadn't come to find me, we wouldn't have been caught on camera. I'm the one to blame. To keep the paparazzi from blackmailing you, let's get a divorce." "Divorce?" Clara was taken aback. I nodded, my voice thick with fake emotion. "Yes, divorce. Let's go to the courthouse and end it. That way, even if the story gets out, we can present a unified front and minimize the damage." Clara frowned. "But the paparazzi want a huge sum. If I can't satisfy them, it will all come out eventually. My future will be jeopardized, and I'll face massive penalties for breach of contract. The fines would be astronomical." She took out her phone, realizing the penalties would be at least $1 billion. I was the one who had sicked the paparazzi on her. I had already calculated how much she would have to compensate, which is why I suggested the $1 billion hush fee. If she paid, the money would end up in my pocket. If she didn't, I had another plan. "So, what now?" I asked, wiping away non-existent tears. "Either way, we're out a huge sum. Isn't there a third way?" Clara was deep in thought. I knew she was considering her options. Having been in the business for so long, she knew about stars stashing away funds. I figured she would think of a way to shift her assets. With both her parents gone, I, her husband, was her only close family. She wouldn't trust Ethan, the man who had abandoned her once before. I was the logical choice. After a long pause, she spoke. "All right. I could transfer my assets to you. If things blow up, you take the money and go abroad. I'll follow soon after." It was the best plan she could come up with. We would divorce, with all the money going to her loving ex-husband who would never betray her. The bait was set. We signed the divorce papers that night. The next day, we finalized it at the Civil Affairs office. Everything under her name now belonged to me. The paparazzi were still waiting for their payment. She vaguely promised them a date a month away. During that month, the cooling-off period for our divorce passed. Quietly, we went back and got the official divorce certificate. Holding that certificate, I felt a huge wave of relief. I had truly won. The hunt was about to begin. But before I could make my next move, Ethan got restless. He wanted the fame he had in his past life and was angry that Clara was just dragging him along to quick money-making events instead of getting him acting roles. He argued with her, and she, already irritated, didn't hold back. Upset, Ethan pulled his usual fainting act. Clara panicked and drove him to the hospital. But halfway there, a speeding truck crashed right into them. She had tried to shield Ethan, and as a result, she was severely injured and left unconscious. The doctor said her injuries were so severe she might never wake up. Ethan was also in bad shape, with multiple fractures. When I heard the news, I rushed to the hospital with her assistant. Standing outside the operating room, I couldn't help but think how lucky she was. If she died now, it would be too easy. My revenge would be meaningless. No, Clara didn't get off that easy. I hoped they would save her, leaving her crippled but alive, forced to suffer through the rest of her life. She was in surgery for over 10 hours. I got tired of waiting and left. The next morning, her assistant called. "Leo, Clara is awake. She's asking for you." It was a medical miracle. The doctors had said she'd be bedridden for at least a year if she even woke up. Yet she was awake and ready for visitors the very next day. As I walked to her room, I had a strange feeling. I tiptoed to the door and heard a voice I despised coming from inside. It was Ethan, his voice choked with emotion. "Clara, it's amazing you're awake. I never imagined we'd get a second chance like this. Even the heavens are on our side." Clara's voice was weak but unchanged. "Where's Leo?" "He left last night," Ethan said bitterly. "You were teetering between life and death, and he didn't even stay by your side. Leo is malicious. I suspect he was the one who orchestrated your car accident." "How can that be? He loved me so much he would never do that." "Why not? You came back, didn't you? You should remember what we did to him in our past life. We left him to rot in a nursing home. If we can come back, he surely can too. And if he did, he would hate us and want to get rid of us." Clara gasped. "If that's the case, that's terrible. I divorced Leo and all my assets went to him. If he's been reborn like us, he'll be coming after me, won't he?" "You fool, Clara," Ethan despaired. "How could you be so foolish?" I didn't listen any further. I turned and left. I had always thought only Ethan schemed against me, but now I knew Clara was just as complicit. These deceitful people would get what they deserved. I returned to her room with a pot of homemade broth, my eyes red and swollen from rubbing them with onion water. When I saw her, I burst into tears. She hugged me, crying too. We were both acting, testing each other. She pushed me to sign an agreement transferring my assets back to her in the event of my death. I agreed without hesitation, calling my lawyer immediately. Seeing no resistance from me, a flicker of guilt crossed her eyes. In front of her and the lawyer, I signed the property transfer agreement. If anything happened to me, all my assets would go to Clara. Relieved, she insisted on leaving the hospital after just 3 days. I played the part of the innocent, caring husband and took her home. On the 4th day after she returned, both Ethan and I were kidnapped. The kidnappers took us to an abandoned warehouse on a remote mountain and demanded a $1 billion ransom. Just like in the past, Clara came up the mountain with the money. And just like in the past, after she handed over the ransom, the kidnappers decided to kill one of us. With a sinister grin, a man lunged at us with a sharp knife. I saw it all clearly. Clara was holding Ethan, trying to comfort him, fully expecting me to leap in front of her and take the blow. Unfortunately for her, I wasn't that man anymore. It wasn't until the knife pierced her abdomen, leaving a huge, gaping wound, that she turned to look at me in shock. I stood quietly a few feet away, watching her blood spray everywhere. She screamed in agony as Ethan, covered in her blood, pushed her away and tried to escape. I watched as the kidnapper grabbed Ethan and stabbed the knife straight into his eye. When he pulled the blade out, Ethan's eyeball was stuck on the tip. I saw Clara on the ground, clutching her stomach, unable to stop the blood pouring from her wound. The kidnapper continued to slash at them both, severing their tendons. Then, we heard the sirens. The kidnappers fled, and I dropped to the ground, pretending to be a victim. Clara and Ethan ended up permanently disabled. The police soon discovered their plot to have me killed. The news of the famous actress's affair and their plan to murder her ex-husband made headlines everywhere. Not only were they crippled, but they also faced long prison sentences. 3 months later, I visited Clara in prison. She was slumped in a wheelchair, staring blankly out the barred window. When she noticed me, she tried to move, but it was futile. Her tendons were severed. She would never move her hands or legs again. I smiled at her. "Clara, long time no see." Her voice was a rasp. You orchestrated all of this." "I have no idea what you mean," I replied smoothly. "Weren't the kidnappers hired by you and Ethan? You treacherous snake." I smiled. "Compared to you two, I'm nowhere near as ruthless. I was just waiting for an opportunity, and you handed it to me. I only added $50 million to your assassin's fee. I must say I'm quite satisfied with the results." Her voice cracked as she cursed me, but I was unmoved. "This is just the beginning. I've spoken to some lawyers. Someone in your condition can't be incarcerated. So I've forgiven you. I won't press charges. In fact, I've even found a special care facility willing to take both you and Ethan in. I hope you enjoy the rest of your lives there." I had gone out of my way to find the perfect place for them. A damp, dark facility where they would live out their days being cursed and beaten, eating moldy food like rats in a gutter. Meanwhile, I would travel the world with my billions, perhaps finding 10 or so gorgeous women to keep life interesting. From this point on, Clara, Ethan, and I would live in entirely different worlds. Just as they once forced me into a life of suffering, they would now endure a similar fate, while I reveled in my newfound freedom and wealth. I would make sure to enjoy every moment of my life, all while watching them slowly succumb to their well-deserved misery.